If you have dark spots, hyperpigmentation, or melasma, this video is for you. We have created the ultimate ranking list for the best treatments for hyperpigmentation.
And the reason this is so important is not only is this an extremely searched skin concern, but there are so many ingredients and products out there. We're going to show you which ones will work the best for your skin, which ones you should avoid completely, and what else you can do to help fade those dark spots.
So in this video, we're going to be talking about the best ingredients. We're also going to be talking about the best oral medications, and we're also going to be talking about the best in-office treatments. So this should hopefully be comprehensive for anyone with any range of dark spot concerns. So ranking the best dark spot treatments, here we go.
Here we go. So we are going to be using a cheat sheet because there are so many ingredients and so many things you could be doing for your skin. It is actually impossible to think of all the ingredients in completeness and be thorough when we talk to you about this.
We just don't want to miss anything. So I'm going to be naming ingredients off, and then we're going to be discussing them, and we're going to be talking about the rankings. Now, the way that this is going to work is that you have your A team, and the reason why I've decided to frame these as teams is because really the ingredients all work together to solve your dark spot concerns. And so I'm going to tell you what the A team is, what the B team is, what the C team is, what the D team is. And the A player can handle dark spots on their own to some extent. You'll notice an improvement if you just use that ingredient or that treatment. A B, you'll notice improvement, but it's gonna take a lot longer. C, I wouldn't use that ingredient alone if you actually wanna see results. And D, I would avoid that altogether.
So just those little foreshadowing. We do have a disagreement on one of these ingredients, and even as he's talking now, I'm like, yeah, the ingredient needs to be ranked higher, but we'll get into that debate later. What is our first ingredient?
So first up, we have kojic acid.
So I wrestled with this because the qualifier for category B is would you use it alone. Kojic acid, I would say, is borderline category B.
Yeah, it's a pretty strong tyrosinase inhibitor, so it's going to prevent that melanin production. If you're going to use it, it's going to take a while to see results on the own. So I would say B, but kind of lower tier on the B list.
Yeah, now I mean the only product I can even think of that exists as a pure kojic acid is that kojic acid soap. I don't know if anybody remembers that orange bar that was viral for about half a summer.
That I would not use alone.
That's all I can think of.
Next up, soy.
Okay. C, wouldn't use it alone.
Okay, agreed with that. Next up would be DIY hacks, lemon.
Lemon, okay. I would say D, but I would say it's more likely to bleach your hair, lighten your hair than your skin.
Yeah, and it could also, depending on the pH and concentration, it could actually irritate the skin. If you go out in the sun, you could actually get a burn from it. Would avoid lemon altogether. Definitely tier D. You don't want to be using this on your skin at all. Next up, DIY hacks, turmeric.
I would say D. It can be helpful. No, we'll say C. It can be helpful, but it just has problems working on the skin just as a raw ingredient.
Yeah, it's trouble to find the kind, like if you buy powdered turmeric from the store, you don't know what the concentration of the active ingredient curcumin is going to be. So it's tough, but it would work technically if you were able to isolate turmeric. So I'd make it a tier C or a team C. Next up, DIY apple cider vinegar. This is a common one we get from people.
Okay, team D. Easy, apple cider vinegar, team D.
Okay, easy. All right, next up would be green tea.
C.
Okay, I agree with that. Wouldn't use it alone. You could see results with it. There's some good studies that show that it does work. The problem is you have to combine it with other ingredients if you actually want to see results. Next up, azelaic acid.
Azelaic acid, so team B. Plenty of good azelaic acid products that live in perpetuity on their own, and I would use a lot of them.
This is one of the ingredients where I think percentages are definitely important. If you see azelaic acid in the ingredient list, but you have no context on the ingredient percentage, I would probably not pay any mind to it. You'll see a lot of serums on the market claiming azelaic acid with no context on the ingredients. I say at least 10% and yeah, up to 20% in the prescription cases, but 10 to 20%. But I do think it's a B team. It's going to work on its own, and it's great for post-inflammatory hyperpigmentation. Next up, cysteamine.
I like cysteamine. So cysteamine, a tier B, I would say you can use it alone, even though you'll rarely find it alone. It also can be very expensive. You'll find one of the OG cysteamine products that's expensive, kind of smelly. And I happen to have this here. I was actually hoping this would come up. I've fallen in love with this product. I don't even know if you can buy it. I helped launch this product in Indonesia from Labore. It's their Lacto NADP3 serum. This is one of my favorite products to use. It has encapsulated cysteamine, so it solves the odor problem. It is lightly fragranced, but it also is inexpensive. So whenever this comes to market globally, I highly recommend checking this one out.
Yeah, cysteamine is amazing. I think Urban Skin RX had a product a while ago that was relatively affordable with cysteamine in it. Works great. It's short short contact therapy. I think most cysteamine products you're only supposed to leave on for a while and then wash them off, but it works incredibly well. I definitely put this in the B team. It's gonna work. It's just gonna take a little bit longer, maybe not as powerful as the A team here. Next up, arbutin, alpha-arbutin.
Alpha-arbutin. This is an interesting ingredient because of its unique mechanism, so to speak, but I would say B.
Yeah, I would agree. B, it's gonna work. It's just gonna take a little bit of time to work. It also breaks down to hydroquinone, so you have to be a little cautious with it, especially if you're on a quote unquote hydroquinone holiday, meaning you've been using hydroquinone for a while, prescribed by your doctor, and now you're gonna switch off of it. If you switch to arbutin, have you really given your skin a break? And then there are some questions if that's even the mechanism by which it works, so if you dive into some of the data there. But it does work. There's a lot of good data on it there. I would just make sure that I'm not using it for extended period of time, and I would put it on the B team for sure. Next up, licorice root.
Licorice, C team.
I agree with that. C team, there's a lot of data on licorice root. It's one of the well-known tyrosinase inhibitors, but it's not gonna do work on its own. I would definitely combine it with other ingredients.
Interestingly, if you eat an exorbitant amount of licorice, completely different than using it topically on your skin, you can get persistently elevated high blood pressure. You know, remember that from medical school?
What does that have to do with anything, right?
We're just talking about licorice, you know?
Completely out of the... All right, moving along. Ferulic acid and I guess other antioxidants.
Right, so again, we have a C category here. Now, ferulic acid is one of the best antioxidants for your skin. You'll actually find a lot of studies on it in hyperpigmentation, but it's usually combined with other ingredients. Now, ferulic acid, again, it and the other antioxidants like green tea supporting, and they will support your other ingredients. That's why it's a great team player.
Exactly. So if you think about it, a lot of free radicals can cause damage to your skin. Antioxidants are great free radical scavengers, so having them in your routine, especially during the daytime, can protect your skin against inflammatory hyperpigmentation, but it's not going to be the root cause. It's not going to be an A player. It's definitely going to fall in that C category. Next up, niacinamide, Dr. Maxfield's favorite ingredient. This one could be debated, I feel.
Yeah, there's a few of these we could probably spend a little time on, but niacinamide, I would still go C. It is one of my favorite ingredients, but it's not because it's so strong, it's because it does so much. So we always say niacinamide, jack of all trades, master of none, and that includes its benefits in hyperpigmentation.
Yeah, completely agree. I think niacinamide has been overhyped in the sense of it acting as a standalone ingredient. And so niacinamide, I like pairing with other ingredients, especially in a hyperpigmentation routine, but I wouldn't use it alone necessarily. Though there is like some studies comparing niacinamide to hydroquinone, believe it or not, but I just don't think you're gonna see the results that you would expect with that. And when Differin has their dark spot product on the market, it used to have hydroquinone in it. When they removed hydroquinone, they replaced it with just niacinamide alone. And you could just see the reviews. I mean, people just didn't see the results they wanted to see. So niacinamide, I think, should be paired with other ingredients as well. Next up, vitamin C.
This one, again, could be controversial. You hear a lot of different takes on vitamin C, its benefits on the skin, irritating, but also for dark spots specifically. Gosh, I think C, but you could sway me to B. You could actually sway me to B on this one. So I'll say a high C for vitamin C.
Yeah, I think that one's definitely straddling between C and B. There are definitely studies on it working alone in hyperpigmentation. It's got to be really expertly formulated to achieve that type of outcome. So right pH combined with the right type of ingredients. But I can see it straddling C and B. What about tranexamic acid?
Topical tranexamic acid. Go with C. Some nuance about that ingredient topically.
Yeah, there's some questions about whether or not tranexamic acid topically can penetrate into the skin. There are studies that show that applying it topically does help, and it works by sort of a unique mechanism. So you could put it between B and C, I feel, and especially when you combine it with other ingredients. Like if you look at our remedy for dark spots, one of the reasons why we used ingredients like mandelic acid and retinol is because of its benefits in dark spots, but also because it could help your other ingredients penetrate the skin better. So in the right formulation and with penetration enhancers, I do think tranexamic acid can probably penetrate the skin, but because of that little nuance there, I'd still put it in that like high C category with vitamin C. All right, next up, blue light. How would you fit blue light into the treatment of dark spots?
So it shouldn't be there at all. This should be in the D category to F category. So it is interesting because LED lights, we talk about their benefits all the time, but they are also deliberate and thoughtful. Blue light specifically for the wrong person can worsen dark spots, and it's probably just something that is lost in translation or some people just don't understand. So I would say category F or below D.
Yeah, I would avoid blue light altogether in the form of a mask, in the form of a panel, because it could make your hyperpigmentation hyperpigmentation worse. And one of the things that we look for is sunscreens that can block blue light for people who are prone to hyperpigmentation. Not blue light from your devices, but blue light from the sun is critical to block for people who are prone to hyperpigmentation. So avoid blue light altogether. And then there's a little nuance here. I'm going to just talk about it. It's unregulated bleaching creams. And this is something I actually only became aware of after I launched Remedy. And that's because Amazon got in a lot of trouble a few years back. And there were all these products that were used to treat hyperpigmentation online. They were dark spot products. They were listed on Amazon. They had a lot of great reviews. And a lot of times they were being sold from other countries. And when Amazon tested those products, a lot of them were contaminated with mercury. And then some of them were contaminated with hydroquinone, which is no longer available over the counter in the United States. And they basically now make anyone who sells a dark spot product, when you list it, they let you list it, but within a few weeks, if it gains any traction, they'll actually take the listing down and make you do testing for mercury. And so just be careful when you're buying things online if it's from a reputable company and where it's coming from in the world, and if you've ever heard of the brand before, because there are a lot of dark spot products that are contaminated with mercury and other ingredients that could be harmful for the skin. So just be careful. Make sure when you're buying any product for hyperpigmentation that you're buying it from a company that's well respected. Next up would be alpha hydroxy acids. Where would you put AHAs? And that includes glycolic acid, mandelic acid, lactic acid.
So these work uniquely, and I feel like that makes them extremely important for dark spots. I really want to say B, it's B for sure. I would say a high B for these because again, they're going to remove existing pigment. And so without that critical step, a lot of the other ingredients we're going to talk about aren't going to work as well. So it does its job well by removing existing pigment, and it is almost necessary to incorporate somewhere in the dark spot routine.
Yeah, a lot of the ingredients we've talked about so far, and barring a few, are tyrosinase inhibitors, which means they block pigment production, which means that if you have existing pigment in the skin and you're wondering like, I'm using this product that has niacinamide in it or kojic acid, why am I not seeing any improvement in my skin? It's because you're only blocking new pigment from forming, which means that if you have existing pigment, right, which is the reason why you started using one of these products in the first place, you're not going to see any improvement. And so you need something that's actually going to remove existing pigment. And there are really only two categories of ingredients that do that. And one of those is the alpha hydroxy acids like glycolic acid. And so I think it's a critical part of a routine. And there's nuance whether or not glycolic acid is safe for skin of color. I think that it is. And there's actually quite a few studies that support that. I think all exfoliating acids are good. If you're more sensitive to exfoliating acids, I would use something like a mandelic acid or a PHA, but you want something that's going to remove the existing pigment if you're truly going to see results relatively quickly. And so I do think it's a critical part of a routine, but I still think I would put it in the high B category. Next up would be retinol. Retinol and tretinoin.
Okay, retinoids. We'll go with the whole family. So this is where we probably differ. I would say low A, but the reason is because this covers all your bases and it can do it very well. Now, it's not the gold standard for treating dark spots, but it is going to decrease pigment production, decrease pigment transfer. It's going to remove existing pigment by increasing skin cell turnover, and it does it pretty well, decently at least. So I'm gonna go low A. You could talk me down to a high B if you really want to, but I'll say low A, high B.
Yeah, that's a good point. I would actually, you've convinced me that it's a standalone treatment that's gonna work relatively quickly alone, so I would put it in the A team, sorry. So we'll put retinoids in the A team, retinol, tretinoin, they'll work alone if you just used those. Now, if you have stubborn hyperpigmentation, it's going to be a tough one, but if you have somebody who's just kind of mild hyperpigmentation, I think it's a team A. So then where does hydroquinone fall into this?
So this is the strong A. This is the top of the category because it's the gold standard. And if you look at how all of these other things are benchmarked, you talked about the studies of niacinamide. If you look at any of these other studies, they're all compared to hydroquinone. And whenever you see a pattern like that, you don't want to be looking at the ingredient that's like, oh, it's as good as blank. You want to be buying blank, because you know that thing is going to be effective for your skin if it's safe and available to you. So hydroquinone is going to be potentially the most effective topical ingredient to treat hyperpigmentation that you can get.
100% agree. The issue with hydroquinone is you have to be careful about using it for long periods of time. So it's definitely the GOAT when it comes to treating hyperpigmentation. Some people don't tolerate it well, so that's one of the caveats there. So then you have to fall to one of these other ingredients that we've already mentioned. And the second issue that you have with it is if you use it for too long, and this has been documented, especially at higher concentrations of hydroquinone, is you can get something called exogenous ochronosis, which is a permanent discoloration of the skin that doesn't respond to any of the treatments that we've talked about so far. And so hydroquinone should always be monitored by a doctor when you're using it, and you should use it for short periods of time, that's 2 to 3 months, before taking what we call a hydroquinone holiday and trying to switch to some of these other ingredients. And so it's very important that you switch to these other ingredients that we've mentioned once you've been on hydroquinone for a period of time, but it is the GOAT when it comes to treating hyperpigmentation. And then finally, another one I think is on the A team is a tinted sunscreen.
Yeah. This was almost the forgotten category. He added this last minute, and I almost came into the document later and added this too. So tinted sunscreen, A team, because the most important step in dark spots is actually not reactive treatment, it's proactive prevention. And tinted sunscreens add an additional layer of protection.
Yeah, I mean, this is the foundation of everything. If you're not wearing sunscreen, I mean, everything we just talked about is out of the question. Now, I prefer tinted sunscreens because of their ability to block blue light, but if you're just using any sunscreen at all, it's better than nothing for sure, and you're still gonna get some protection against hyperpigmentation, but critical. Nothing else works unless you're wearing a sunscreen in the morning. And in fact, some of these ingredients will make you more sensitive to the sun, like your alpha hydroxy acids, and so even more reason to be wearing a sunscreen. Now, all of that being said, when we look at the treatment of hyperpigmentation, we said that some of them remove dark spots, some of them prevent dark spots. And with any treatment or regimen, we recommend a combination of these ingredients because that's how you're gonna see the best results: prevent and treat. And so look for products that have multiple of these ingredients thoughtfully combined to get the results that you want. Even when we're treating hyperpigmentation in the office with prescription treatments, hydroquinone is often not used alone. It's used in combination with ingredients like tretinoin and a steroid to calm down some of the inflammation that go with it. And so that triluma is what the product is called, is in the office even used to hit hyperpigmentation from multiple angles. And this is the reason why Remedy for Dark Spots has multiple ingredients to target the pigment pathway to see results. We'll list some of our favorite dark spot products below, including ones that you can get by prescription only in the United States. Now let's talk about oral medications and rank those as well. So where would you put polypodium?
Polypodium. It's one of the most evidence-based combinations of antioxidants for sun protection, and I would say C. You wouldn't want to use this alone. You wouldn't supplant your sun protection. You wouldn't sub out any of your other treatments for it.
Yeah, polypodium is phenomenal for various reasons, and it has been actually shown to help with melasma, but I wouldn't use it alone. It would be a great supplement to a topical skincare routine that has hyperpigmentation fighting ingredients, but I wouldn't use it alone. What do you think about oral glutathione? Very popular in other countries.
Right. This is a video we never released with our deep dive on glutathione. Orally, I would say category C at best. I don't think there's a ton of data out there showing it helps. I know parenterally or in IV form, there's a little bit more data, but C at best.
Is there oral glutathione polypodium supplements in wand?
I don't know.
That'd be good. Good idea for somebody out there. All right, next up would be oral tranexamic acid. Now, this is only available by prescription. And so what do you think about oral tranexamic acid?
Funny enough, I'd still say B. Oral tranexamic acid has, I still would never use it alone. That's the
I've
kicker.
never used it alone, to be
See
fair.
what I mean?
Yeah.
There's like this inherent thing. It's like, it's very effective. And so part of me wanted to say A, but I've never really ever used it alone or seen it used alone. It has multiple mechanisms through the vascular component, through the hormonal component, and through the actual like melanogenesis component of hyperpigmentation. But despite that, you always couple it with topical therapies.
Okay, I would consider it a low A. And the reason why is because it does work alone. It's just that we rarely use it alone. And we could make the same argument for hydroquinone because it does work alone, but I rarely use it alone. Some people do use it alone, but I rarely use it alone.
Okay.
I usually combine it with other treatments.
We'll bump it up to an A.
I'll call this a low A because I agree with you. I've always used it with other things, but this is a twice a day medication, usually around 250 milligrams prescription. It has some inherent risks with it, so you want to talk to your dermatologist about using it. But I've actually seen some great results in like really resistant hyperpigmentation when people come and see me in the office. Next up, we're going to move on to procedures. And this is a part of dermatology we often don't talk enough about, and we plan to do more videos on this, but this is a very nuanced thing because if you're getting any of these treatments that we're going to describe here, this comes with the caveat that you really want to go to somebody who's extremely skilled, especially if you're somebody who has darker skin tones and you're very prone to hyperpigmentation. Some of these lasers in the wrong hands can make your hyperpigmentation worse, and even worse than that, can actually burn the skin. So be very, very cautious about who you go to. You want to go to a very skilled practitioner. You don't want to look for the lowest bargain price on something like this. It could be the lowest price, but you want to make sure you're going to somebody who's a very skilled practitioner. Where would you put microneedling on this list?
So I would say C. Microneedling can be helpful, but you really want to, I think, combine it with other ingredients.
Yeah, I agree. You would maybe see results alone with it. That's the trouble. But Yeah, high C, low B for this. It's a great treatment in combination with other dark spot treatments because it's going to make your ingredients penetrate better. It's going to help your skin cells speed up turnover. It's also going to get rid of existing pigment that's deposited in the skin. So good when combined with tyrosinase inhibitors. Where would you put RF microneedling when you combine microneedling with radio frequency?
I was going to bump it up, which
Really?
I don't know. It's probably not warranted. So RF microneedling, you're actually delivering deeper heat into the skin. It spares the top layer of the skin. Most of the pigment lives towards the top layer of the skin. I'm walking back. I'll say C2, but it's borderline again.
Yeah, and I think in some ways you have to be cautious with RF microneedling in somebody who's prone to hyperpigmentation. Now, there are certain devices, now I would say most devices use what we call insulated needles, meaning that the heat is only delivered into the dermis, which means it shouldn't affect the pigment layer of the skin, but there's some nuance here, so that's why it's very important to go see somebody who's skilled in these procedures. I'd put it at the same level as microneedling because it probably won't have any difference in the treatment of hyperpigmentation, even if it's maybe better for collagen synthesis than regular microneedling. I think it's probably the same when it comes to hyperpigmentation. Where would you put chemical peels on this?
So this can range. Chemical peels can be superficial medium, or deep, and depending on the depth, that's going to determine your results. So I'll say this, superficial chemical peels like salicylic acid, I would say are a C. If you go to a true medium depth peel, which, is just a higher concentration of something like trichloroacetic acid or TCA, then I would say it's going to be a B. If you do a phenol peel, which is hard to find people who do phenol peels, very aggressive, some serious inherent risks, I'll say it's an A. It can be ridiculously strong in terms of its benefits.
Now, everything he just said right there, 100% agree with the caveat that that's true in lighter skin tones. If you were to use like a phenol peel on a darker skin tone, which I don't even know if anyone would do that, I suppose that they could, and they do, you just have to be extremely cautious because you can really inflame hyperpigmentation with the wrong peel in a darker skin tone. So there are some peels that are targeted towards hyperpigmentation and they're available. You can find them. They're out there. They have ingredients that block pigment. Those are good options too. So chemical peels, depends on the chemical peel, depends on who's doing it, depends on your skin tone, and it also depends on the pre and post treatment, which we'll talk a little bit about this after because with in-office treatments, pre and post treatment can be very, very helpful as well. What do you think about CO2 when it comes to treating hyperpigmentation?
I'd say B. Yeah, I think CO2, the upside is somewhat limited, but it can be effective. It does, I think it does texture and fine lines better than pigment, but it can be very helpful as well. It depends on the settings too.
Yeah, so I think, again, lighter skin tone CO2, you can do really great with hyperpigmentation. I would say darker skin tones, I'm always very cautious with CO2 in general. It's not my go-to laser in darker skin tones, especially when you're trying to treat pigment specifically. So lighter skin tones, yes, because it's great at resurfacing. Darker skin tones, I would actually avoid CO2, and so I would put that into a B category potentially, and with some nuance there as well.
Yeah, and that's kind of the kicker for a lot of these in-office procedures. There's always going to be inherent risk, especially for darker skin tones. Like I cannot do CO2 myself, I don't believe, and while there are some exceptions to that, that's a general rule, and especially when you get to strong things, it can be irritating. The same risk and rule applies.
Absolutely. Next up, clear and brilliant.
Clear and brilliant. I would say it's a high B, A. Where do you fall for you?
Yeah, I would say also B. It's basically fractional laser, but it's safe for darker skin tones, and so it comes with less nuance. Like you're less likely to cause harm in anyone's skin with this, and so great for hyperpigmentation in both darker skin tones and lighter skin tones. But the results are not as robust as some of the other lasers, so I would put it like kind of in a high B category, like you said, or a B category.
Yeah, it's just more generalizable. There's actually a really, really incredible handheld. It's not clear and brilliant, but it's an incredible handheld Fraxel. So Scott from MRP will show a video here of me using it, and it's actually incredible how consolidated the technology has gotten. So if you're a provider out there, just be on the lookout for something like this. It really can revolutionize how you treat your patients.
Yeah, so that would be Fraxel. So Multifrax is Fraxel, and it's a phenomenal device. It's handheld, it's extremely powerful, and I would actually rank this Fraxel as probably an A when it comes to treating hyperpigmentation in general. Next up would be Pico. So Pico Sure uses pico wavelength, picosecond lasers.
So Pico referring kind of to the pulse duration of the laser. This one can do incredible for dark spots. I think this would probably be one of the most, if not the most effective treatment you can get. So A.
Yeah, I would say this is high A. And a lot of times we actually don't have a Pico Sure laser, picosecond laser at our office. And when someone has really stubborn hyperpigmentation, especially if they have darker skin tone, and those can be very difficult to treat because you're trying to not cause any inflammation in the skin while also treating dark spots. Pico is kind of our go-to, and we oftentimes refer out. So we'll probably end up having to get a Pico laser in general, but it's incredibly effective for hyperpigmentation. I would definitely consider that a high A. Where would you put IPL BBL?
The IPL is so user dependent, and also it's going to be, again, very dependent on the patient's skin tone. So I will say it, you can get really good results with this sometimes. Really good results. I'd say can be a high B for the right person, but for the wrong person, it can't be used. So I'll just say B.
Yeah, I would say B with extreme nuance. If you have darker skin tones, right, like Fitzpatrick 3 and greater, I would be extremely cautious with IPL BBL. And I've said this before in other videos, it is the device that I see the most burns coming into our office from, which means that somebody had a tan, their skin was too dark, the settings were wrong, because it doesn't focus light the same way that other lasers do. It's not even really a laser at all. And people get burnt, and it's terrible burns. And we can show you pictures of this. It's horrible. So you have to be very careful. If you have lighter skin tones, it's great at targeting pigment with the right filters on it. If you have darker skin tones, it can be extremely dangerous. And so I put it at B in terms of efficacy, but with a huge asterisk around safety. And so when it comes to these lasers, again, you need a foundational routine built around this. Whether it's prescription or it's over the counter, you need a foundational routine if you're going to be using any of these lasers. And so a lot of times, like if somebody's really prone to hyperpigmentation and they're going to get a Fraxel done by me in the office, then I will pre-treat them a lot of times with one of these lightening and brightening agents. A lot of times hydroquinone is a great option for this. You pre-treat them, get their skin ready for the laser, and then you also put them on a post-treatment regimen. So with a lot of tyrosinase inhibitors to make sure that that melanin doesn't come back during the healing phase, and that they're definitely wearing sunscreen during the healing phase. And so if you're going into the office to see someone who's skilled, see someone that has a lot of different types of lasers at their disposal, and then also talk to them about pre and post treatment to make sure that you get the best results out of these laser treatments.
Right. And so, I mean, that was just only one part of this whole team cascade, because as you saw with the topical treatments, you need to combine multiple things with multiple mechanisms. And now even with procedurally, you're going to combine the topical treatments, pre-treatment with the procedure, with post-treatments. It's all not complex, really. It can look very simple, but it really does require a lot of like co-parenting to make it all work.
So I know this was crazy. There was a lot here. To sum it all up, because I know that this list is now starting to look a little bit crazy and you're wondering, how do I use all these ingredients? Where do I even start? You're going to pick one product over the counter that's going to target your hyperpigmentation. Now that can be one product comprehensive that has a lot of ingredients in it. I'm obviously biased towards Remedy for Dark Spots because I created it for this reason, to be comprehensive, but any product that has multiple ingredients to target the pigment pathways, that's what you're going to go with. Now, if you're not going to use an over-the-counter product, use a prescription product that's going to target multiple pathways like Trioluma. So that's going to be your over-the-counter topical. That takes all these ingredients out of the equation. The next thing is that protection. Tinted sunscreen, critical, or any sunscreen at all. So if you have that, you have two of the key things. And then finally, going an oral medication, you can consider them, but they're not totally critical. And then you can go see your dermatologist if you have really stubborn hyperpigmentation to get either chemical peels or a laser to really target your concerns. So hopefully we made this a little bit more clear. And I think this will be a useful list if you're trying to evaluate adding ingredients to your routine or going to see your dermatologist for laser treatments, where these kind of fall and some of the nuance between them.
Right, and I'll kind of close with this one statement that I've noticed. So a pattern I've seen, when you look at how doctors treat their skin, professionals treat their skin, they oftentimes start with the most effective thing and then build backwards. So they'll start with like a team A ingredient, a team A foundation, and then they'll add supporting ingredients. What I've noticed most people otherwise do, just everyone in the public, consumers, they'll start with the team C players, whether it's because of marketing, accessibility, or just name recognition. They'll start with the weakest and then build up, or work their way up because they're a little unfamiliar or perhaps reasonably scared. So just being armed with this in terms of efficacy and effectiveness, be cautious, be thoughtful, be deliberate about how you build your routine, but know you're going to anchor around an A. You can build around a B, and then you'll add in the C players to be your supporting cast.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. That was really well worded, and this is actually how dermatologists do approach the skin. And so go with the heavy hitters if you actually want to see results, and not just the team C, and definitely avoid team D. So thank you all so much for tuning in. We'll put our infographic below. We've used this infographic in a video before. We also have other videos on hyperpigmentation that you can watch, and so we'll put a link below for you to download the sheet so that you can use this as a guide going forward. Thank you all so much for tuning in. Please like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video.
We'll see you next time.